welcome to A Feminine Moment. I'm Cherry Lynn, and I'm joined with Dixie Andelin Forsyth.
Hi.
Hi, author of Fascinating Woman for the Timeless Woman and daughter of Helen B. Andelin. And we are here to talk a little bit about a kind of unique subject, maybe a little bit more challenging and tricky. We're talking about what to do when you yourself are sick or not feeling well, and your husband is maybe kind of expecting you to fulfill a lot of the same things that you usually do around the house, and you're not able to. And specifically, we have this question from one of our Facebook members about how her husband is in a horrible mood when she's sick because a lot of the things that she does around the house she can't get done. He starts to get upset with her. He gets upset with the kids. She's tried talking to him about it, and it's almost worse when she tries talking to him about it. She's tried to be sympathetic towards him. She's tried to admire him. She tries to take advantage of the times when he is really sweet and caring and be thankful to him. But then she still keeps getting this same response every time she is ill. So
Okay. Yeah, that's tough because there's very little information, really. I think I'm sitting here thinking,
a lot
I
of
would ask
questions.
her. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would ask her questions. Well, is he okay? I raised 7 children. Between me and my sisters, we raised 45 kids, if you can imagine. I have a sister that had 15, and she looks great. I mean, her dream was to raise a big family and live in the country, and that's exactly what she did. I got another sister with 9. So we all had that situation where we were sick. And when you were telling about that, I was thinking about the times, not just time, because I wasn't sick a lot. But
Mhm.
I had maybe 3 kids who were sick, and we're talking the worst, like throwing up and diarrhea. It's the
Mm.
worst, and fevers and that sort of thing. And winters, I couldn't go. It was awful to go out. And then I caught it, or I had morning sickness or something like that. And so as mothers, as women, we face these things. When that happened to me or my sisters, our husbands were I'm assuming she's talking about in the evening because they were working.
Mhm.
They could not help during the day. So I don't know, maybe he
Right,
works from
that's the
home.
thing.
See, that's one of my questions. How is it that he is around and can do these things? Because I think you have a couple of children. You can't, when you're sick, you can't turn to your husband and have him take over when he's sometimes out of town for his.
Right. For me, I think every woman can relate to this, especially every mom. And for me, what I relate to about this story is that my husband travels a lot, and I have
Yeah,
2 young kids, and I don't have family nearby. I
right.
have friends, but most of them aren't usually available in the middle of the day when most people are working. So
I'm,
I
yeah,
definitely can sympathize, but I think what she specifically is struggling with is how her husband is reacting to it. Because we
right,
all have had this happen to us, and it's how our husband reacts that makes
right.
it either
Okay,
challenging or not.
remember that men, it's not that it isn't important to women, but it's especially important to men to feel confident in what they're doing. And let's say it's in the evening,
Yeah,
because,
yeah.
okay,
Because
it's in the evening. If he's been at work, he's probably tired. And taking on an extra job is not easy, especially if he feels incompetent. So if you can understand or look to try and understand why he's doing it, doesn't mean it's an excuse.
right.
But when you understand somebody and like for them, it's so important to feel like they're good at it. And so if he's not good at it, it's going to make him more in the basement, more grouchy, more grumpy. And then, like you said, he feels, I think that's the same one she said, he feels guilty or bad because of
Mhm.
the way he's treated her.
Yeah.
So, just remember in Fascinating Womanhood, cardinal rule, you cannot change anyone but yourself.
Hmm.
If your goal in any situation is to try to get a better behavior, you want them to change, they will sense it. You will sense it if someone is trying to change you. It's the same feeling of pushback. Like,
Hmm.
it's why human beings want freedom so much, why they're willing to fight wars for it. And we do it kind of, I don't know, it's almost like we don't even realize we're doing it. We're trying to get someone to do something for us. So what can we do? What can I do? And I was thinking about how this used to happen to me
Mhm.
sometimes. And I felt very sorry for myself because, I had throw up on me. And there's nothing worse when you're feeling sick for to smell somebody else's throw up. It's the worst. It's
Mhm.
worse than dirty diapers to me.
Mhm.
And so I felt like I was dragging around the house sometimes,
Yeah.
just barely doing the bare.
Exhausting.
And
Yeah.
if this lady is like us, you probably feel even worse if you feel like your house is falling apart. Like, oh, great, there's dirty dishes now and there's toys around. And so,
I definitely feel that way, but I know she had said in one of her comments, like, it's not so much about the house being dirty for her. I think it's just about how to keep her relationship feeling more positive because the two of them are.
well, since we know very little about this, just the bare
Yeah.
basics, I would say if it was me, I would try, and it's hard when you're sick, but
Mhm.
I would try to empathize with him and say, I'm sorry, I'm putting you through this. I'm really sorry. This must be awful for you. And maybe even exaggerated a little bit. It must be just horrible. I appreciate you doing anything for me because I just need some help right now. I'm really sorry that I do. And in
Mhm.
other words, do something about yourself and your own attitude, own thing, because you can't make him different. You can try, but it'll just be like hitting your head on the wall. You know, it would be one thing if it worked. This doesn't work. And we keep trying it. It's amazing to me that we do as human beings, and partly in empathy with this poor girl, mother, wife, woman, she we are the mothers of this world. And so for us to realize we're trying to mother our husband is kind of, you kind of go, oh yeah, I guess I am. It's so natural for us to try and guide and teach our
Mhm.
husband or other people because we are maternal, we're nurturers. But with men, you kind of can hit a big concrete wall when it comes to trying to change them. They don't want to be raised, and at the same time you're justified in your frustration because don't grump at me, I'm sick, and it makes you feel even worse.
Yeah, and whether or not she's trying to change him may not be what's coming out too. He may think that she's trying to change who he is or feel it, maybe not think it, but
Yeah,
feel this response
it's
from her and be like, why is she expecting these things? There's just a
I
miscommunication.
hope that the sicknesses that she's talking about are brief and
Right.
not real recurring. When you
Mhm.
have a lot of children, like I did during the winter, I had one child. Some kids tend to get things more than other kids, and I had one child that was got had a tonsillitis like every month. It seems like for a year. We couldn't. And you have one that gets ear infection. Some children get these, and
Mhm.
they haven't had tubes in their ears yet, or they're not old enough. I mean, there's all these kind of issues that we have to deal with. But the worst is when you get sick too,
Yep.
and then you got
All
a
been
child
there.
who's sick, and then great because the one who's holding down the fort is sick. But some men are great at taking over when you're sick,
Mhm.
and some men aren't that great. I mean, I think my husband is one of the best people ever, but he is, and he means well, but for him, when he does it, he forgets all the stuff about the dishes and things. He doesn't do the details. Make sure people have food. He may forget about the dishes, but he probably would do the dishes, but then he'd come home tired from work, and if he had all this, it would be hard for him. Just remember, when your husband is doing that, he's in the basement.
Mhm.
He's in the basement and you're in the basement. That's
Don't
a
go
tough.
down there with him.
Well, you're probably already there if you're sick.
Yeah.
Chances are it's easy to get there or you're already there. When you're both down there,
Yeah.
it's not great for communication at all. So I would minimize, just say, I got to watch what I say because I'm probably going to say something I don't mean to. The
Yeah.
chances of you guys going like this are really high when you're both down there. Recognizing it
Yeah.
is the first thing. Recognize, uh-oh, I'm in the
We're both
basement.
in a bad place. Yeah.
We're both in a bad
Nothing
place.
good is going to come of this.
Not if you try to resolve it down there. You got to get up there. You got to get upstairs first. And you actually can get upstairs when you're sick. It's harder, but you can, especially when you realize that knowledge is power.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's talking about a feminine way. You always are feminine. You're always feminine. That doesn't mean that you always look like you're made up to go out. Femininity is who you are at your core. And part of your femininity is your ability to try to understand and empathize with another person. Even when you're feeling lousy, you can actually do that, because you do it with your children. If you're sick and you have a fever and your child comes in and is fallen down, you immediately are concerned for them. You have the ability to empathize with them even when you're feeling terrible. Mm-hmm. So you can do that if you focus that. And just remember, you can only change you. Femininity is partly your perspective. If she says he feels terrible, okay, she knows that. If he feels like he's being mean, then he feels worse, and then he's even more crabby. Childlikeness isn't going to be a great choice when you're coming from a basement perspective.
Right. Because I think that was one of the responses, was in fair response to say, why don't you try childlike anger? But I agree with you. If she's
childlike anger in the basement,
and it might not come across as genuine because
if snarkiness comes out of it, then that isn't what you want. That is not childlikeness. That's just snark. And the same thing is true with hinting and things like that. Those things don't work. They're not helpful. So and again, without knowing quite a bit more, if she was there, we could say, well, what about this and this? It would help us to know more how to help in this situation. But understanding him, since she did say he felt bad about it, that's a huge clue. It means that he doesn't mean to do that. If he doesn't mean to do it, what can you do? Your responses to him, for one thing, get yourself out of the basement.
Yeah, whatever that is. Yeah.
Whatever it takes for you. For me, it might be different than for you.
Right.
And Fascinating Womanhood for the Timeless Woman, there's a whole list of things of getting upstairs. And you can get upstairs even when you're sick. Because one of the first ones is gratitude, which you can do lying there, and gratitude, sincere gratitude, produces oxytocin, which is a pleasure chemical, and it can help make you feel like everything's going to be okay. And even when you're feeling awful. So getting upstairs is the first step. And when you're upstairs, you're going to have more ideas about how to be creative and how to use your own natural femininity to deal with this. One of them is going to be empathizing with the fact that he's doing something he doesn't feel competent at. Anything you can do to say, I wish that I appreciate what you're doing. I feel terrible that I'm not able to do it. I so appreciate that you're doing double duty. You got to be tired.
Right.
Or whatever.
Right.
That it is, because unless even if he is a stay-at-home, work-from-home person, he's been working.
Right.
So if he's taking over, he's doing double things.
Which are things that he's not used to doing. And we all know that, multitasking isn't necessarily always a strength of men. So, these things are more challenging on him than we probably realize.
Probably so, because again, men are not as verbal. They don't tend to be as good at verbalizing things. If they were as verbal as us, she'd probably know a lot more about what is making him grumpy. And she'd be able to handle it better. But men aren't as good at verbalizing normally. Some men are, most are not. And most men are not good at hints either, or being given orders. Okay, you need to do this and you need to do that. And I'm not saying she's done that, but a lot of us fall into
feedback.
That.
Yeah, even if you're just giving feedback, that's maybe not.
Now there's this load of laundry that needs to go in here. Yeah, and she may not even realize, and maybe she's not doing that, but I can easily see myself falling into that if I was in that situation.
I know for me, one thing that helps me when I'm sick and my kids are sick, because this has happened to me a lot, is me personally, and I think you kind of touched on this with going upstairs, and maybe this is how I go upstairs and I'm not even really aware of it, but just keep telling myself over and over and over again, this is just a short thing. This is not going to last forever. This is not going to, like, I can get through this. I can get through, if I can get through 3 more days, he's coming home on this day, I can do this, and get through the day, and just try to have really positive self-talk, I guess. And unless it's a serious illness, which I'm not sure, like you said, we're not sure the
Yeah,
specifics.
we don't know.
Hopefully it will be short and it won't last long.
If
But
it
it
isn't,
is hard.
if it isn't serious, maybe she could do more than that is comfortable to do. Sometimes you just drag around and do the bare minimum. But sometimes if you got 102 fever, you just may feel like I can't. And things are falling apart around you. It feels like it. It's not that they literally are. It feels like it. This is difficult, but like you said, and that's one of my tactics too, is I tell myself I won't always feel this way.
Yeah, and it's hard. I mean, I'm not saying that that makes it easy by any means, but it's at least, I guess my point being, just positive self-talk, as positive as you can get to tell yourself these things, because the more you kind of sit there and you're sick and you sit there with these negative thoughts and you don't have anywhere to release them. Like she said, I don't have family here. I don't have a lot of friends. Like, she's probably feeling really stuck. And it's great to go on our Facebook group and vent
Yeah.
and vent your girlfriends on there, and, like, let them get your frustration
Right.
out. Maybe that will help you to feel a little bit more patient.
As you're saying this, I'm realizing my sisters and I, none of us ever had help.
Yeah.
My sister was 15. She didn't have help from family and friends because she wouldn't have asked unless it was really serious.
Right.
She wouldn't have asked. She would have, because I mean, she had people at church, friends at church. None of us got to live really close to each other, so we didn't have each other. But I wouldn't ask friends unless it was really serious because I feel like, well, they're busy. So I just never did. I just dealt with it, and it was hard. There were times when I thought, I will always have throw up on me, and Bob will always be dressed in a suit and go off and smell good. Of course, it wasn't true. It wasn't true, and I didn't always have sick kids, and I didn't always have that situation going on. Sometimes everybody was healthy. A lot of times, most of the times, people were healthy and happy. But when you have a baby, they spit up on you. Their diapers leak sometimes, and you feel like you've got to wear. No, but I never wore pizza clothes. I just always wore clothes that I could wash, so I could throw them in the washer, because I couldn't stand to feel like a hobo at home.
That's what kept you up, feeling upstairs, probably.
That's true. And
That's what helped you feel better, is that you were
another,
messed up.
that's another,
It may not be the case for everyone. That might not work for everybody, but for you, that helped you to feel
what's
more.
another, I'm glad you brought that up. When you're feeling terrible, when I feel sick, I always take a bath or a shower and get dressed up. Even if I have a fever, I feel better. I feel better. I feel more upstairs.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't ever say, hey, I'm taking a bath now, so I'll feel better. I just do those things so that I am more upstairs. And when she is upstairs, if it's anyone who's listening, the more upstairs you are, the more you'll find good solutions to these things. Reading Fascinating Womanhood and finding these solutions. As long as you're down there, you're not gonna really feel like you're coming up with the best things to say, and you'll probably regret a lot of the things you say.
Right. Right. And for those watching, if you haven't read Dixie's book, when we talk about upstairs, downstairs, she talks about that in her book, and chapter 9, I think, is what we discovered.
Yeah. It's called Brain Matters. The chapter.
It's a great read. Yeah, if you haven't read it, definitely read it. And that will kind of shed a little bit more light on that subject. You should definitely read that and check that out. Well, great. This has been really helpful. And I think this is, like I said before, a subject that many of us, pretty much if you're a mom, you will relate to this. So thank you so much for for all of your great insight. Is there anything else you wanted to add
No,
before?
that's good. Thank you,
Good.
Cherry. Thank you for
Okay.
being here.
All right. And thank you everyone for watching. If you like our channel, don't forget to hit subscribe and also like or comment below. We love questions. So bring on the questions. Thank you
Yep.
so much. We'll see you
Bye-bye.
next time. Thanks. Bye.